My journey to Finland started with a simple goal: to understand the Finnish soul, to get under the skin of what makes this country tick. I wanted to experience something truly authentic, something that would connect me to the heart of Finland. I assumed this meant hockey or some quirky sport, maybe even a wild reindeer race, but no, it was the sauna. The answer was so simple yet so deeply woven into Finnish life. I pictured a relaxing spa day, maybe a gentle steam and a cucumber mask, but I was about to enter a wooden box designed to roast humans. This was no ordinary spa experience. My guide, Pekka, met me at the airport, his beard and grin promising mischief. He looked like he'd just stepped out of a snowstorm and into a Viking saga. "Are you ready for a real sauna?" he asked, eyes twinkling. I nodded, clueless, not realizing what I was signing up for. I bragged about my LA gym steam room, thinking I was prepared. After all, how different could it be? Steam is steam, right? Pekka just laughed, a deep knowing laugh that said, "You have no idea what's coming." We drove through peaceful forests and lakes, the landscape so serene it almost felt magical, lulling me into a false sense of security. The silence was only broken by the crunch of snow under the tires. Pekka explained, for Finns the sauna isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, a place for clarity, deals and even births. It's where families bond, friends reconnect, and strangers become comrades. I tried to imagine my mom giving birth in a sauna. It was both horrifying and oddly logical. In Finland, the sauna is a cradle of life and tradition. As we arrived at a rustic lakeside cabin, my heart raced. The air was crisp, the lake perfectly still, and the only sound was my own nervous breathing. Pekka pointed to a small wooden shed. "There she is, the heart of Finland." His voice was reverent, as if introducing me to a sacred relic. It looked like a tool shed, if tool sheds could melt you. The wood was dark and weathered, steam curling from the chimney. I pictured myself sweating among stoic Finns, my skin turning a shade of pink, unknown to science. Would I survive or just dissolve into a puddle? I took a deep breath of cool air, knowing it might be my last for a while. The cold stung my lungs, but it felt exhilarating. My quest for the perfect sweat was about to begin. I was not prepared, but curiosity pushed me forward. But there was no turning back. The adventure was on, and I was about to step into a world where heat is a way of life. I was about to discover what it truly means to be Finnish, one drop of sweat at a time, and I had a sinking feeling I was in way over my head. But sometimes, the only way to learn is to dive right in, heat, nerves, and all. The first challenge wasn't the sauna itself, it was the locker room, a place where cultural differences hit you before the heat ever does. In America, locker rooms are silent zones of mutual invisibility. You keep your eyes down, your towel up, and your conversations to a minimum, if you speak at all. In Finland, it was the opposite. The locker room was a social hub, men chatting, laughing, and strutting around with zero shame, as if nudity was just another part of the uniform. Pekka undressed casually, blending in perfectly. I, on the other hand, attempted the towel tornado maneuver and failed spectacularly, ending up tangled and awkward like a tourist in a world without modesty. A friendly Finn handed me a tiny linen cloth. "For sitting," he said, with a smile that suggested this was perfectly normal. It was the size of a napkin, definitely not enough to hide my American modesty, or much of anything else for that matter. Nudity here was normal, not showy. It was simply practical, and that made it even stranger for me, coming from a culture where we cover up at every opportunity. I tried to act casual, but probably looked like a shy man prepping for a very small picnic, clutching my linen square like it was a shield. The Finns ignored me, which was both a relief and a little insulting. Their indifference was almost comforting, as if my awkwardness was invisible. Before entering the sauna, we took a thorough pre-rinse shower, a cleansing ritual for body and apparently inhibitions. It was a moment to reset, to leave your self-consciousness behind. As the water ran over me, I tried to wash away my awkwardness, letting the unfamiliar routine become part of the adventure. I clutched my linen square like a security blanket and followed Pekka, feeling both exposed and oddly liberated. The social experiment was over, at least for now. I had survived the locker room gauntlet. The real trial was about to begin, the moment I'd been both dreading and anticipating. I was clean, nervous, and dangerously under-toweled, standing at the threshold of a new experience. But I was ready, sort of. I took a deep breath, trying to summon some Finnish courage. Time to face the heat, and step into a tradition older than I could imagine. And whatever else Finland had in store for me beyond that wooden door. Pekka opened the sauna door. A blast of heat hit me like a truck. This wasn't gentle spa warmth, it was dry, intense, and all-consuming. My glasses fogged, my nostrils burned, and my skin prickled instantly. I found a spot on the lowest bench, the tourist level, Pekka later teased. The real Finns sat higher, basking in the inferno. The room was silent except for the crackling kiwas, the stove piled with ancient rocks. Breathing felt like inhaling hot soup. My body screamed, "Get out!" But I stayed, determined. Around me, Finns sat serenely, eyes closed or lost in thought. I, meanwhile, was a sweating, wide-eyed mess, clutching my linen square for dear life. I tried to make small talk. Pekka just smiled and nodded. Here, the main event was sweating, not chatting. I felt every pore surrender. I was no longer Conan the host, just another puddle in Finland's fiery heart. Just as I thought I'd survived the worst of it, an elderly Finn stood up with a quiet determination, grabbed a battered wooden bucket, and ladled water onto the kiwas, the sacred pile of sauna rocks at the heart of the room. Instantly, a violent hiss erupted and a thick, swirling cloud of steam exploded into the room, rolling over us like a living thing. The heat went from merely unbearable to something like the surface of the sun, a sudden, suffocating intensity that pressed against my skin and lungs. My lungs seared with every breath. My skin prickled and felt like it was melting right off my bones. I looked around expecting panic or at least discomfort, but the Finns leaned in, eyes closed, some even smiling in pure, unbothered bliss. They welcomed the pain, almost as if it was a cherished friend. I realized I was among people with a completely different relationship to suffering, one that bordered on reverence. Pekka explained, the loyally, is the sauna's spirit, the very soul of the experience, and the reason Finns return again and again. Tossing water is an art form. Too little and the heat is weak. Too much, and you risk scalding everyone inside. Every few minutes someone would repeat the ritual, another wave of invisible fire sweeping through the room, testing our resolve. I tried to think of icebergs, Alaska, frozen food aisles, anything to mentally escape the heat, but nothing helped. Finally, with my nerves frayed and my pride on the line, I decided to try it myself. I stood, legs wobbly and heart pounding, and tossed water onto the rocks, feeling every eye in the room on me. The steam enveloped me, swirling around my body. For a fleeting moment I felt powerful, like I'd unlocked some ancient secret. Then the heat hit, and I instantly regretted every decision that had led me to this point, questioning my own sanity. But I'd participated. I was part of the ritual now, no longer just an observer but a true initiate. The Finns nodded in approval, their silent acceptance more meaningful than any words. I was still sweating, still suffering, but I was in the club, sharing in this strange communal endurance. The sauna was no longer just a room, it was a test, a rite of passage, a place where pain and pleasure blurred together, and I was barely passing, clinging to my last shreds of dignity, but I was still standing, for now, and in that moment, that was enough. Just as I thought I'd endured enough, Pekka produced a bundle of birch branches, the Vasta. "For circulation," he said, then began gently whipping himself. The leaves released a fresh, woody aroma. He handed me a Vasta. My American brain screamed, but I joined in. It didn't hurt. In fact, it was oddly pleasant, like a leafy massage. Emboldened, I whipped my back, arms, legs, a flailing whirlwind of pale limbs. The heat, steam, and birch thwacking was a total sensory overload. It was bizarre, primal, and strangely satisfying. Pekka offered to do my back. I accepted, suspicious but grateful. It was oddly intimate, but not threatening. In that moment, I understood. The sauna breaks down barriers. It's hard to be pretentious when you're naked, sweating, and being gently beaten with a tree branch. The weirdest team-building exercise ever. And the most effective. The peak of madness, the lake plunge. After another round of, Pekka announced, "Now for the swim!" We stepped onto the dock, steam rising from our skin. The lake was dark, cold, and terrifying, even in June. Finns calmly lowered themselves in. No screams, just acceptance. My body begged me not to do it, but Pekka's grin dared me on. I dipped a toe. Instant pain, like 1,000 needles. But I'd come this far. I plunged in yelping. The shock was total. My body seized, my mind blanked. I scrambled out gasping, skin tingling, then euphoria, a wave of energy, clarity, and well-being. I felt fantastic, invincible even. Pekka laughed. "See? Now you are alive." I finally understood the sauna is about contrast. From one extreme to the other, you find peace in the middle. The suffering made the relief sweeter. I was hooked. And I was alive. Just when I thought we were done, Pekka called for a break. We wrapped in real towels and sat on the porch, cool air on our skin. Pekka brought cold beers and sausages, sauna makara. Instead of a grill, he placed the sausages on the kiawas inside the sauna. We drank, chatted about the weather and watched the lake. The silence was comfortable, the conversation easy. When the sausages were ready, Pekka retrieved them. Delicious, steaming, perfect. We ate them right there, with mustard. It was the best sausage I'd ever tasted. Maybe it was the hunger, maybe the euphoria, or maybe sausages just taste better after surviving a sauna. It was the perfect, absurd Finnish intermission, and I finally felt like I belonged. Having survived, I offer these tips for Americans facing a Finnish sauna. Forget your spa expectations. This is Viking boot camp, not a day spa. Embrace the nudity. No one cares what you look like. Don't attempt the towel tornado. You'll fail. Use the linen napkin to sit. Protect your delicate parts. Hydrate before, during, and after. The sauna will drain you. Listen to your body. If you feel faint, step out, no shame. Start on the lower bench, don't be a hero. When offered birch branches, accept and join in. When it's time for the lake plunge, go for it. The shock is the point. Participate in the cycle of hot and cold. That's where the magic happens. Go with an open mind and a sense of humor. You'll be uncomfortable, but you'll never forget it, and you'll earn a story worth telling. As Pekka drove me back to my hotel, I felt transformed. My body was exhausted but relaxed, my mind clear and calm. I'd arrived a skeptic, survived the awkwardness, the heat, the birch, and the icy lake. I understood the sauna isn't punishment, it's purification. It's a reset button for the soul, a way to connect with nature and others. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Even if you feel like a boiled lobster, it's unforgettable. The best travel memories are made outside your comfort zone. You'll tell this story forever. So, don't skip the sauna. Be brave, be bold, be ready to sweat. You'll feel more alive than ever. I went looking for the perfect sweat, and found so much more. I found a new respect for the Finns and their beautiful, crazy tradition.